My BF is stuck between me and his girl Bestie. You won't believe how it ends. Okay, picture this. You trust your boyfriend, but you can't ignore that he's getting way too close to his girl Bestie. What if one day you realize you're not the only one fighting for his heart? The real question is, who will he choose and who's the real winner in this love game? Stick around because this story will have you questioning everything.
Hey, story lover. Welcome to the Narrative Hub, Reddit Stories. Believe me, this adventure gets wild, but it's only epic with you. Seriously, you make this possible. Want more stories? Greater adventure? Smash subscribe right now. Smash like. Comment below. Let's go.
My story starts 6 months ago. His name was Peter. My name is Linda, and her name was Rachel. When I first met Peter, Rachel was part of the package. She's my best friend, he'd say, like a sister. And I believed him. I'm not the jealous type. I'm secure. Or at least I was. But the sister thing started to feel off. It started with the jokes I wasn't in on. He'd get a text, laugh, and when I'd ask, he'd just shake his head. Oh, it's just a Rachel thing. You wouldn't get it. Then it was the nicknames. He called me Babe. He called her Ray Ray. Fine. But she called him Petey, a name he claimed to hate, but he never, ever corrected her. The real red flag. The lock was his phone, permanently tilted away from me. Who's texting you at midnight? I'd ask, trying to sound casual. Just Rachel, he'd mumble, already typing. She's having another crisis about her job. It was always a crisis. A crisis that required him to leave my apartment at 1 a.m. A crisis that required hour-long whispered phone calls in the other room. A crisis that, conveniently, always seemed to happen right when we were about to have a serious conversation or just a quiet night in. He built a mountain of excuses for why they had to hang out alone, why she needed him. He told me I was being paranoid. He told me I was insecure. And for a while, I believed him. I started to question my own gut. Maybe this is just what a healthy friendship looks like. I tried to be her friend, I really did. I invited her to brunch. I asked her about her life. But talking to Rachel was like talking to a mirror. She only reflected back what Peter thought, what Peter liked. It was bizarre. She didn't seem to have a personality of her own, just his. I was trying so hard to ignore the knots in my stomach. I wanted to be the cool girlfriend. But that all exploded on a random Tuesday night. Peter was supposed to be at my place. We were going to cook dinner. 7 p.m. 7:30, at 8 p.m., he texts. Hey, something came up with work. Gonna be super late, don't wait up. I felt that familiar cold prickle of doubt. We share locations. For safety, he'd said. I opened the app. He wasn't at his office. He wasn't even on the way. He was at his apartment. I didn't think, I just drove. I let myself in with my key, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I was ready for a fight. I was ready to find them. Well, you know. But what I found was almost weirder. I walked into his apartment and there she was, Rachel, sitting on his couch in the dark, wearing his gray college hoodie, the one I loved to steal. She wasn't laughing. She was crying, hard. He froze, she froze, and me, I was just standing in the doorway, realizing I wasn't in a relationship. I was in a competition I never even signed up for. Linda, Peter snapped, jumping up. He didn't come to me. He went to Rachel, standing between us. What are you doing here? I told you I was busy. You lied, I said, my voice shaking. You said you were at work. Rachel's father is sick, he hissed, as if I was the one creating the problem. She needed me. You're making this about you. I'm making this? I couldn't even finish. The air was electric. Rachel just sat there, staring at me from under the hood of his sweatshirt, her face tear-streaked, but her eyes cold. There was no embarrassment. No, I'm so sorry. Just entitlement. That was the night I realized I wasn't dadding him. I was dadding them. For the next few months, it was agony. Every plan I made was conditional. We can go if Rachel doesn't need me. Every secret I told him, I just knew he was sharing with her. He was sleeping over at her apartment more than mine, always under the guise of making sure she's okay. I was done competing with a ghost who was very, very real. I was done being the sidekick in my own love story. So I set the trap. I sat him down. I'd practiced this speech, but my hands were shaking so badly I had to grip my knees. "Peter," I said, "I can't do this anymore. I can't be one of two." He started with the usual. "Linda, don't. She's just a friend, you know that." "No," I said, my voice suddenly firm. "I don't. And honestly, it doesn't matter anymore. You have to choose." He looked like I'd slapped him. "Choose. Me or her, lock, stock, and barrel, you have to pick one. And if you pick her, that's fine, but I'm gone. If you pick me, she's gone. No more 2 a.m. calls, no more crisis sleepovers. You block her number today." I gave him an ultimatum. I know. Ultimatums are messy, they're desperate, and they never end well, right? Except, this one did, just not in the way anyone expected. He argued, he begged, he tried to gaslight me again. "You're asking me to throw away a 10-year friendship. You're being controlling." "I'm asking you to be in a relationship with me," I countered. Finally, defeated, he sighed. He ran his hands through his hair. "You, okay, it's you, I choose you, I need time, I can't just cut her out, she's fragile. Let me let her down easy. Give me 72 hours. I agreed, a 72-hour countdown. It felt cheap. I didn't feel like I'd won. I felt like I'd just postponed losing. For the next 2 days, he was the perfect boyfriend. Attentive, loving. His phone was on silent. He kept telling me, "See, it's you. It's always been you." Then came night 72. He was in the shower. His phone, which he'd left on the nightstand on purpose to show me how transparent he was being, lit up. It was a text from Rachel. My blood ran cold. I wasn't going to look, I swore I wouldn't, but the message preview, I couldn't unsee it. It said, "Heater's still broken. Is the backup plan still a go for Friday?" The backup plan. I thought I knew my boyfriend. I thought I knew his bestie. I was so wrong. My hands were shaking, but this time it wasn't from fear. It was rage. I picked up the phone, his password, my birthday, how sickeningly perfect. I went to his search bar and typed backup plan. What popped up wasn't a text thread. It was a shared note, a note between him and Rachel. And what I found inside wasn't just a betrayal, it was a full-blown strategy. This wasn't a friendship, it was a ticking time bomb. It wasn't a love story, it was a business plan. They weren't in love, they were co-conspirators. The note was a detailed, step-by-step scheme. Rachel's crises, the sick father, the job problem, the broken heater, were all lies. They were manufactured emergencies. Peter was using these emergencies to get me to back off, to give him an alibi. But why? I scrolled down. The plan was to use Rachel's fragile emotional state to con her wealthy parents into giving them a massive loan to start a business. A business they were going to run together. My boyfriend, Peter, wasn't just her best friend. He was her future business partner. And me, I was the cover story. I was the stable, serious girlfriend who proved Peter was finally settling down. I was his Alara for all the late nights he was working, but was actually building this scheme with her. This wasn't a love triangle. It was a con. I wasn't the girlfriend. I was the alibi. The 72-hour ultimatum. That was just him buying time until Friday, when the money was supposed to transfer from her parents. He wasn't stuck between us. He was playing us both. He was using my love to build a life with her. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I went cold. He thought he had both of us on a leash. He thought he was untouchable. He didn't know I was playing a new game. A game of lock, stock, and barrel, and I was ready to burn the whole thing down just to win. I screenshotted everything. The note, the text threads I found confirming the details, the bank account information they'd set up. I emailed it all to a new account I created right then and there. Then, I deleted the email from his phone. I deleted the search history. I put the phone back on the nightstand, exactly as I'd found it. When he came out of the shower, wrapped in a towel, smiling, I smiled back. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Perfect," I said. "I was just thinking about your cousin's engagement party this weekend. I'm so excited to finally meet your whole family." His smile widened. They're going to love you, Linda. I just know it. Oh, they were going to remember me. All right. The party was at a fancy downtown restaurant. Private room. 50 guests. Peter's parents, his aunts, his uncles. And, of course, Rachel, who was sitting right at the family table, playing the part of the adored family friend. Peter was on cloud nine. He held my hand, he kissed my cheek. He thought he'd won. He had me, and in 24 hours he'd have the money. He kept checking his watch. After the main course, his father, Mr. Collins, stood up to make a toast. It was all very touching. When he finished and everyone was clapping, I stayed standing. I raised my glass. "I'd like to make a toast too," I said. The room quieted down. Peter looked at me, beaming. He probably thought I was going to gush about him. "I'd like to make a toast," I said, my voice ringing clear and loud, to Peter and to Rachel. Rachel's head snapped up. She looked confused. "I've learned so much from you both about loyalty," I continued, "and about planning for the future. In fact, I was so moved I wanted to share your project with everyone. Peter, would you mind if I didn't wait for an answer. I took my phone and tapped the screen mirroring button, connecting to the large smart TV on the wall intended for a family slideshow. "I'd like to share the backup plan." The title of their shared note flashed onto the 60-inch screen. Peter's face, it didn't just go pale, it went gray. "Linda, what are you doing?" he choked out. "Just sharing your brilliant strategy," I said, my voice sweet as poison. I scrolled to the text messages, to the financial plan, to the part where Peter told Rachel, "Just gotta keep Linda sweet for a few more weeks until your parents give us the seed money. She's so trusting, it's almost sad." The room was so quiet, you could hear a pin drop. I scrolled to the last text, the one from Rachel. "Is the backup plan still a go for Friday?" I turned to Rachel's parents, who were sitting right across from me, their faces masks of pure, horrified confusion. "Friday, that's today," I said, feigning a gasp. "I do hope your father is feeling better, Rachel, and that the heater gets fixed. You must be so cold." Rachel didn't cry this time. She just stared, her mouth open. Peter lunged for my phone, but I stepped back. "She's lying. She doctored those. She's crazy." But it was too late. The receipts were on the screen for everyone to see. And that's when the real show started. Rachel, seeing the game was up, didn't defend him. She turned on him. "He made me do it," she shrieked, bursting into tears, real ones this time. "He said it was the only way. He said his parents would never approve of us, and this was the only way we could be together and be independent." "You lying," Peter shouted, his face purple. "You came up with the whole plan. You used me. You used me." It was a full-blown public showdown. They were tearing each other apart, admitting to everything in front of their families, their friends, and most importantly, Rachel's parents, the ones with the money. So, who was the real winner in this love game? Forget what you think you know about love triangles. The real story isn't about who he chose. It's about what I was forced to do when I realized I was just a pawn. I didn't stay for the end. While they were screaming at each other, I picked up my purse. I walked over to the table, took my glass of champagne, and drank it. "He thought he was stuck between us," I whispered to myself. "He didn't realize he was just stuck, period." I walked out of that restaurant. I left the fire burning. I blocked Peter. I blocked Rachel. I blocked his entire family. They got each other. And they also got the bill for the party, a mountain of debt, and the shame of explaining to their entire world how they tried to con their own parents. Me, I got my receipts, I got my dignity back, and I got a story that I knew. You would not believe. That ending, that was poetic justice.